This is the EVP Podcast. You know what time it is, folks. It's time for another episode of the EVP Podcast. And we are your hosts. I'm Ghosty.
And I'm Beaker.
And we're about 3/4 of the way through Halloween.
Through Halloween?
Yep, through
we're
Halloween.
Not even there yet, but we're 3/4 of the way through it.
3/4 of the way through Halloween.
Yes, 3/4 of the way through Halloween. Or as you people like to call it, the spooky season.
Spooky season.
Where us here at the EVP Podcast, spooky season is all year round.
Hell yeah, it don't stop. And seen a scary movie over the week that you recommended.
I've seen a couple over the weekend.
What else did you see?
So just to start off with, we're a week late on this episode due to some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
That we did not realize until I got to the editing process.
USB cords, am I right?
Yeah. Who needs to plug those in?
Weird.
Definitely not us. So here, apologize for being a week late. But
we
here
learned
we
a
are.
lesson. We learned a lesson.
Yes. Plug the cords in. They work better that way.
Yeah, who would have thought?
So I recommended a movie to you.
Yes.
And you watched it. It was The Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah, and I had come across it and seen things about it, and I didn't care too much about it and didn't think anything of it. And after you recommended it, it sounded pretty interesting, and holy shit, was that good.
So
highly recommend that as well.
For those of you that don't know what The Late Night of the Devil is, it's kind of like a found footage film on a 1970s talk show where they did like a live interview. They were streaming. They were streaming.
In the 70s.
They were streaming in the 70s live on television. The talk show, late night talk show, and one of their special guests that they had on there. They had a couple special guests. The one that I identified the most with, or that I liked the most, was the guy that was loosely based on James Randi, and we'll have an episode on him eventually. I've been teasing that for a couple years now. James Randi was basically like an illusionist that spent his entire life, or the later part of his life and his career, trying to debunk psychics and mediums. So they had a character based on him on the movie, and then they had this girl that was basically rescued from a cult, right?
Right.
That was possessed.
Yeah, pretty much this cult was like conjuring up some bad spirits, and the feds were coming to get them, and so they decided to burn this bitch down.
So this girl had been working with this doctor for like a year now.
Yeah, she was rescued because she was the only survivor from that cult. So pretty much all the bad things that cult conjured up is in this little girl.
So they bring her on the talk show, and shit just goes sideways.
But it's a cool lead up.
It's just the whole movie.
Yeah, I like everything about it.
It's awesome.
The lead up to the what's going on and to bringing the girl on the show and yeah, everything about it was amazing.
Did you watch anything else?
I want to say I did, but I can't remember. I don't think I watched anything that was like of.
Well, so I have a movie I need to go see in the theaters because I've prepared myself by watching Terrifier and Terrifier 2. Holy hell. If you're not into gore porn, do not watch these movies. If you are, they're great.
Oh,
so
bad.
the guy, like, it's not made
gore
by
porn?
Gore porn. That's what I'm calling it. It's about a killer mime clown. First movie was made in 2016.
Yeah,
Terrifier 2 was 2022. And Terrifier 3 just came out like a week ago. So
damn.
I haven't had a chance to see that one yet.
I haven't watched it because the gore thing, it's hard for me
to
watch.
Yeah. So it wasn't made by, it's an indie film, more or less, that gained a cult following real quick.
Now they got a lot of money to.
They do. The first two movies, no studio backed it. So the guy was able to do what he wanted and get away with what he wanted. And oh my gosh.
I heard there's some pretty bad shit that people walked out on just because it was too, not that it was a bad movie, but it was just too hard to watch.
Oh, I'm sure there were people that have weak stomachs, but I remember watching the first one and I'm just like, how does this have two sequels? And then I watched the second one and I'm like, the second one's way better than the first one.
They had more money this time.
So if you're into like the stabby slasher films and you're not afraid of mime clowns, go see these movies.
So is this mime clown? It's not like a some kind of like ghost thing. It's actually like a person, or has it got some kind of special powers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and yes.
Okay, I got it.
So originally, the character's name is Art the Clown, and he's originally from like an anthology series called All Hallows Eve.
Huh.
And it was a different actor that played Art the Clown. And what I found interesting is the guy that they cast for the Terrifier movies was an actual mime, right? So, I mean, Art the Clown doesn't have any lines, entire movie, 2 movies that I've seen. I'm sure he doesn't have any in the 3rd movie because he's a mime clown. But the way the guy got the part, when I read this, I thought it was super interesting. They auditioned a lot of actors, a lot of mimes and stuff for this part. He was the first one that came in and he was pretending to eat a human head.
Oh, shit.
And then he mimed pretending he was putting salt on it and then started eating again. And that's how they knew this is the guy they wanted for Art the Clown.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, if you're into the slasher films and you haven't seen these, I recommend it. It is kind of gory. But if you're not in slasher films, don't. This is not for you.
Yeah, I don't know. If I get suckered into watching it, maybe. But
they're on Amazon Prime.
You know what I did watch actually was the new Salem's Lot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were watching that.
Yes, the new Salem's Lot I did watch, and there is a lot of creepy stuff that goes on. And I like the way they did this. I don't remember if I ever did watch the original one.
No, and then when you were watching it, I looked it up, and I totally spaced it that it was a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, it was a Stephen King novel. And this is one of the good ones that doesn't end in a bad way, where it just falls apart in the end.
Oh, like a normal Stephen King.
Yeah, like a normal... yeah, this was actually... Yeah, I really like the storyline in this one, and it ended in a good way, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's another one, because there is a second Salem's Lot.
Is there?
Yeah. Back in the 70s, 80s?
I've been watching so many scary movies over the last couple weeks. I've seen Immaculate. I've seen The First Omen, and then I watched The Omen, and then Omen 2, and then Omen 3.
Oh, man.
I still need to watch Omen 4. 2 and 3 were kind of bad, but I'm going to watch 4 anyways so I can watch them all. I just started rewatching Haunting in Venice.
I did like that. That was a good one.
So there's a couple suggestions. If you're looking for movies to watch, Immaculate and First Omen are kind of similar. The First Omen it came out earlier this year, 2024, and it's a prequel to The Omen, and it basically goes over how Damien was conceived.
Isn't Smile 2 going to be out?
Oh, Smile 2 is coming out soon.
I think it'll be out by the time this episode comes out.
Probably. Yeah. Next month in November, we got Heretic. I'm super excited for that one.
Yes. Yeah, all you Utah listeners, you should watch this trailer for Heretic. That was pretty dope. And then I saw another thing from these people who reviewed it after watching it and said, hands down, got to be in the top 10 scary movies.
Hugh Grant is an awesome actor to begin with.
Yeah, and he plays the villain.
To see him playing a scary character, I'm excited.
Because he comes off so smart, and so as soon as he starts talking, you're like, you're obviously smarter than me. So shit,
right?
You got me, no matter what.
I still need to go see Beetlejuice.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Oh, Longlegs, I need to go see.
So I'm thinking that's going to be hitting the streaming thing soon, because it's do I want to pay to rent it, or is it going to be out on HBO or Prime or Netflix in the next week?
And then what else is? I know they've got.
Zach Baggins has a new show.
Oh, goody!
If anyone's want to see that,
I know a lot of theaters around here in Utah, anyways, are this time of year they show The Nightmare Before Christmas in theaters. And
you know what they've been doing a lot of is the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, I've seen that too. And then Speak No Evil. That's another one that I need to go see. There's a lot on the list.
Which one's the Speak No Evil? That's the
James McAvoy one.
Oh, yeah.
Where these two families meet on vacation and the one family invites the other family.
That one kind of gives me anxiety because it could be very true. That could really happen.
The fun thing about this movie is
it really did.
It's actually based on a 2022, I believe, Dutch film of the same name. Same concept. It's just this is the American version.
Yeah.
So there's just a list of some movies that maybe you want to check out.
Yeah. Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
So in this episode, we talked about the prior episode, the different ghosts throughout China.
Yeah, China.
Yeah. So we're still in China.
Mm-hmm.
And in Chinese history, they've talked about ghosts throughout all their folklore. It's all the way back from the Shang dynasty, from 1600 to 1046 BCE. It even extended further as Chinese literature began to flourish. So ghost stories continue to be popular today, just as, how they've just been passing on these ghost stories ever since. And the way that they see ghosts in China, and that's why they didn't like them, is they always see them as tricksters and pranksters, and they're there to cause trouble. So they don't want anything to do with ghosts over there.
Well, this isn't just China too. Like all
A
of
lot
Southeast
of,
Asia.
yeah, all,
A lot. There's a lot of Chinese influence in some of the
yeah,
ghost cultures, I guess, down in that way. Yes.
down in that way. So the way they see them, they're perceived to be non-corporeal manifestations of a person who has died. And they're usually malevolent in nature. They cause harm, create chaos for the living. And the ancient Chinese were huge believers in ghosts and thought they were, that when a person died, they were supposed to journey over a bridge. And that was to get into the afterlife. And then during the crossing of the bridge, the deceased would be judged if they were worthy. If they had lived a life of virtue, they could continue on to cross the bridge. And once they reached the other side, they either took rebirth as human beings or animals or went to live with the gods, depending on what they believed in. And however, if they had performed evil deeds, they would fall from the bridge into their kind of a hell. And each of the 18 levels of hell, so they had 18 levels of hell. That's a lot
suck
of...
it, Grease.
Yeah.
There's 7 layers of hell.
Yeah, there's got 18.
Dante's Inferno. The Divine Comedy, actually.
And so each of the 18 levels of hell had specific punishments for different sins, and the knowledge of the punishments awaiting the wrongdoers in the afterlife brought relief to those who were wronged. And traditionally, society recognized the existence of ghosts as a natural extension of ancestor worship. And this stemmed from the belief that death is not the end, but just a journey to one's continued existence in the next life. And according to Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism... Buddhism.
Yes.
And Confucianism... That's a hard one to say.
The
Buddhists... For example, believe that those who have passed away will take rebirth in one of the 6 realms: the god, demigod, human, animal, spirit, and hell realms. Confucians, on the other hand, believe that those who have led a virtuous life will dwell with the gods and can be invoked upon for assistance or protection.
All right, then.
Yeah.
I choose demigod.
I would like to be a demigod.
You know who is a demigod?
Who?
Achilles.
He is a demigod.
So was Hercules. Actually, if you pronounce it properly, it's Heracles. I don't know any Chinese demigods. I got Greek mythology for you if you want some of that. Now, the origins of the Chinese ghost can be tracked back to the pre-Qin dynasty. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Qian dynasty, which was around from about 221 to 206 BC. And it was initially spread by word of mouth.
So just ghost stories being told throughout.
Yeah, some of the ancient cultures didn't really write stuff down. It was just all.
That's how they know how.
Sure, they did.
They didn't have materials.
They weren't material girls living in a material.
They just had rocks and shit.
Yeah, hieroglyphics. Is that what they called?
Yes.
The paintings on the
petroglyphs.
walls. Petroglyphs. Yeah. So a lot of history, a lot of cultures. That's how it was handed down. Was just by stories being retold.
Yeah, just up until they can start writing.
Now, by the time the written word and literature was developed, the ghost culture literally came alive.
Want to get it?
Some of the more well-known ghost literatures are notes on searching deities and the story of Chinese gods, as well as the journey to the West. Now, the journey to the West is about the legend of pilgrimage to the Tang Dynasty Buddhist monk.
Xuanzang.
It is the privilege of this Buddhist monk from the Tang Dynasty, Xuanzang, who traveled to the western regions, which is India area, to secure some sacred Buddhist text. Now, he returned after many trials and much suffering. It was Buddha who gave him this task and provided him with 3 protectors who agreed to help him as atonement for his own sins. They were Sun Wukong, Zhu Wuneng, and Sha Wujing, together with a dragon prince who acted as Zhao Zhang's steed, which was a white horse. Culturally, the ancient Chinese believed that the first step in the journey after death was the funeral. Thus, so they were very, very big on making sure that people had a proper funeral and burial rites and performed correctly for the deceased. For a mistake in this could cause their soul to be unhappy, and they will return to haunt the living. So if I die, bury me properly, or I will haunt you twice.
So they feared the unsettled spirit so much that it resulted in rules and regulations being implemented to ensure that all deaths were officially reported and funeral rites were performed accordingly. And these applied to both royalty and commoners alike. And the penalty for failure to report a death was exile or hard labor.
I choose hard labor or exile. I guess those are the options.
That's all you
I don't think
choose.
you get to choose. I think they chose for you.
And according to the traditional Chinese apart from improper burial rites, souls of the deceased could also return to haunt the living if they had unfinished business, unfulfilled vows, a desire to right a wrong, or just a visit.
You know, it was interesting. I saw a comic the other day on Facebook, and there was like a dad with his son, and they're doing laundry, and the dad put one of his socks in his shirt pocket, and the son's like, "Why are you not washing that sock?" And he's like, "So I have unfinished business. So if I die, I can always hang out with you."
Unfinished business.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
He kept his sock in his pocket, so he had unfinished business. And the kid, even after his dad passed away, the kid kept the sock so he could hang out with his dad until he found a girlfriend, and then he washed the sock.
Oh.
Yeah. But I just thought it was funny because, like, when you talk about unfinished business, yeah, I saw a comic where the guy like kept his sock unwashed, so he had unfinished business, so he could still hang around.
That's pretty smart. That's a smart move. That's a smart move.
He didn't want to, like, you know, haunt his son because of this. It's just so he could hang out.
Exactly. The two parts of the soul that are said to return to cause havoc for the living are the Po and the Hun. And based on the history of Chinese writing, the character for Po, which is a lunar brightness, appeared before Hun, which is the soul spirit. Stories of ghosts haunting their relatives, former residences, or appearing to strangers for help are examples of Po hauntings, and where the yin spirit is still attached to the earth because proper funeral rites were not observed to set it free. One of the best known stories of this type is about a ghost of a young girl who visited the home of some brothers. The spirit was so irritating that they caught it, put it in a bag, and threw it down a well.
As you do.
This is exactly how you treat a ghost. And the next night it came back, carrying the bag, and haunted them again. And they
It's like that damn cat.
yeah, it doesn't
Cat
go away.
came back the very next day.
They stuffed it back into the bag, tied a rock to it, and threw it in the river. The next night, though, the little girl came back once again. This time the brothers put her in a hollowed-out log, which is obviously what you do to a spirit, and which they capped on each end and set it adrift on the river. The spirit thanked them for a proper burial and never bothered them again.
Yeah, that's what you... Well, obviously, catching a spirit is pretty easy if you're able to just throw it down a well and then...
Or put it in a log.
Put it in a log.
And then cap it because it stayed in there.
And that's how you bury a ghost. Now, the Po is the yin aspect of the soul associated with darkness, water, and earth. It is the animal nature of man, where the instincts and urges are the first to become apparent after birth. Conversely, the Hun is the yang aspect of the soul associated with light, fire, and heaven. It governs man's intelligence. Especially...
And saying at birth it's weaker.
At birth it's weak, but eventually strengthens as the ability to reason becomes more developed, especially after the age of 6, when education begins and reaches full maturity at the age of 20.
Yeah.
I am good at this reading thing.
So these two parts combined...
when our powers combine.
With our powers are combined of our Po and our Huns. So these two parts of the soul are the essence of what gives a person life. So the Hun, the reason, governs Po, which is the instinct. But Hun also needs Po to survive. Hun hauntings are different because Hun is not attached to the body like Po is. And stories about spirit possessions, ghosts appearing as if they were still living, or ghosts taking revenge on the living are examples of Hun hauntings. And in one story, let me just see this. Two friends, are we going to remember these names? Gao
and Lu.
Lu. They made a pact that whoever died first would return to tell the other what the afterlife would be like. And some months after Lu died, Gao heard a knock at the door one night. The voice of his friend requested that he douse the lamps and let him in so they could speak in the dark. As they were talking, Gao was disturbed by the smell of a rotting corpse. He later found that Lu's Hun had possessed the body of a barbarian who had been dead for 7 days. And then in another tale, Marshal Li wanted to marry a young girl but was rejected by her mother. In a bid to win her over, Li vowed he would never marry if he could not marry her. And he proved himself so devoted and persistent that the girl's mother finally agreed to the marriage, and he swore to be faithful forever. After a few years, the girl died. And only a year after his wife's death, Li arranged to marry someone else. And just before his marriage, as he was soaking in a bath, the Hun of his first wife appeared and reminded him of his promise that he would always remain faithful. She then sprinkled some herbs into this bath water and vanished. Li began to feel weak and became so bloated that he could not move. He died in the bathtub, and when he was found, his bones and tendons had dissolved. And this story serves as a lesson to you motherfuckers better not be breaking no promises.
Right. Even after your spouse dies, no more marriage. You're done.
Exactly.
Or you become Lee soup.
But yeah, it serves as a lesson to fulfill promises made, not just to the living, but also to the deceased. It also highlights the importance of observing the proper mourning period. Yeah, don't be jumping in no relationships.
Yeah. Nope, one marriage is all you get.
All right, so now here's a list of the more popular Chinese ghosts that you might have heard of.
Okay, so starting off, we've got I'm going to try to pronounce these correctly. I worked with a couple of guys from China.
Do your best.
And I asked for proper pronunciation. So
from Google, too.
From Google as well. So the first one we got is the Shui Gui.
Sounds good.
Shui Gui. It's the water ghost.
Yeah,
hey,
got it. Right on the
nailed
money.
it. Water ghost. Shui Gui?
Yeah.
I'm probably saying that wrong. It's water ghost. So one of the popular but particularly dangerous ghosts is the Shui Gui. The water ghost. Hey, the spirit of someone who drowned and whose body was never recovered or accorded a proper burial. Now, the water ghosts are believed to haunt the waters so that they can move on when they have found a replacement. According to lore, the water ghost possesses and drowns its victims' bodies so the victim takes their place. The victim's soul then haunts the waters to lure and drown the next victim. This vicious cycle of luring and drowning continues, and many Chinese swear by talismans and amulets when going near water or swimming to protect them from the water ghosts.
Makes sense. Just vicious cycle. So the next one, I'm going to pronounce this correctly. It's called the Hungry Ghost.
Oh.
Sounds good, right?
Uruguay.
One of the most famous Chinese ghosts is the Hungry Ghosts. And according to Buddhist teachings, hungry ghosts are the spirits of people who always wanted more than they had, never grateful with what they were given, and thus cannot find peace in the afterlife any more than they could find when they were alive. And they are often depicted as beings with enormous stomachs, tiny mouths, and long, thin necks.
Oh, me, I'm a hungry ghost.
And according to legend, no amount of food can fulfill their hunger. The hungry ghosts would appear to living people to ask for food, and if they were not satisfied, they would curse the person, bringing disaster to their homes and loved ones. And the term hungry ghost normally applies to this type of spirit, but all ghosts are thought to be hungry in the afterlife. Hence, rituals were developed and performed to keep them fed and happy, and the annual Hungry Ghost Festival is one of the ways to keep the hungry ghost appeased.
So next up, we got the Hoi Pai. Or the
Huapi. I don't know.
In English, we've got the Ghost of the Painted Skin. Now, many movies are based on the famous gruesome tale of the ghost with painted skin. It is part of Strange Stories from a Chinese studio, which is a collection of supernatural tales by Pu Songling. Now, this creepy and gruesome tale, a scholar named Wang met a homeless girl who claimed to be an abused concubine. Captivated by her beauty and feeling pity for her, Wang agreed to let her stay in his home temporarily. He could not resist her feminine charms, and he took her as his mistress, much to the dismay of his wife, Chen. So don't pick up homeless women and make them your side piece when you're married. Now, later, the marketplace, a Taoist priest told Wang that an evil spirit had possessed him. Wang did not believe the priest and dismissed his claims. When he returned home, Wang made a startling discovery. His mistress was actually a green-faced monster, a ghoul with great jagged teeth like a saw. And while all of this, she had been wearing a mask made of human skin, on which her attractive features were painted. Now, petrified, he begged the Taoist priest for help. The priest agreed, but out of compassion for the ghost, he only offered Wang a charm meant to ward off ghosts and demons. The charm failed to ward off the painted ghost, and instead she became furious and ripped Wang's heart out. Chen reported this to the priest, who subdued the spirit, removed the painted skin, and stored it away. His spouse, Chen, though through much hard work later, was successfully revived Wang. I don't know how you revive someone that had their heart ripped out, but they did.
Way to go, Chen. Way to go.
That reminds me of like the Grudge.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know if that's what they're going for there. That's also
that's
based
Japanese,
in Japan too.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any Chinese horror films. We should remedy that. We can work.
Yeah,
we'll find
we
something.
can do something about that.
Yeah, let's do that. What
So
do we have
the
next?
next thing, I'll pronounce this one correctly as well. The vampires, and translated as stiff body. The vampire is a type of zombie who steals the life force of a person. The vampire is so stiff that it cannot bend its limbs or body, and moves around by hopping with its arms outstretched for stability. You can see that thing coming from a mile away. The vampire is usually depicted wearing a Chinese-style robe and a tall hat, typical of a Qing dynasty official, and with a paper sealing spell. A talisman stuck to its forehead. The vampires are believed to have greenish-white skin. One theory states that the greenish complexion is due to the fungus that grows on corpses. And this Chinese vampire is also believed to have long, flowing white hair and may behave like an animal. In the traditional sense, the vampire feeds solely on the life force of a living person, the qi, and for sustenance and for power. However, due to influences from Western vampire stories, the blood-sucking aspect was introduced to this Chinese ghost character in the modern-day version. So now, Chinese vampires drink blood.
It's like, hey,
thanks America.
Well, I mean, vampires started more in like Europe.
Yeah, the Europeans. Yeah.
Which would be part of Western culture.
Yeah.
Yes. Vampires were very much a thing way before America was founded.
You're right.
So
you're right.
Don't mess with vampires. They will jump at you with their arms stretched out.
Yeah, and they'll be hopping.
Well, and that makes sense because, like, Rick and Morty sets in, and vampires are supposed to be.
That's probably like when they first get out of their coffin and they're still like stretching.
Just stretching.
Yeah, that's how these vampires stretch.
This next one I'm going to pronounce correctly. It's the Nugoi, which is.
What'd you call me?
Nugoi. It's a female ghost.
Nugoi, please.
Nugoi? Yes. Now, the female ghost, it's a vengeful, long-haired feminine ghost in a white dress. They all are.
Yeah.
Now, in Chinese folklore, this ghost is the spirit of a woman who committed suicide while wearing a red dress. Right. Specific?
Yep. Makes sense.
Now, traditionally, the color red symbolizes anger and vengeance. It is believed that she experienced some form of injustice when she was alive, like being jilted or sexually abused, and then so this causes her to return to seek revenge. Now, some ancient folk tales tell of a beautiful female ghost who seduced men and sucked their yang essence, sometimes killing them. Don't make jokes. Make the jokes. I know you. Everyone listening has made some sort of joke. The type of female ghost is similar to its Western counterpart, the succubus.
The next one.
They also go after the yang.
The succubus. Yes. They're known for going for that yang.
They want that yang.
This next one is called the vengeful ghost. And they are spirits of people who return from the afterlife to avenge their cruel or wrongful deaths. Such as ghosts are believed to have existed in China as early as the Zhou dynasty from 1046 BC to 256 BC, and were recorded in the historical text of the Zhuozhuan I can't see
Yep,
that.
sure.
But due to circumstances of their deaths, these ghosts can neither rest in peace nor take a rebirth. So these depressed and restless spirits roam the world of the living, constantly seeking retribution for their unjust deaths. And in some tales, the vengeful ghosts approach the living in an attempt to complete the unfinished business, and that prevents them from moving on. And others try to connect with the living to help them find clues or pieces of evidence which could provide evidence of their wrongful death, thus helping the vengeful spirit find closure to finally be able to move on.
This next one is probably the easiest to pronounce. It's the wandering spirits, or the Yu Han Yi Gui.
Yep.
So this type of ghost, the Yu Han Yi Gui, literally means wandering spirit or wandering souls and wild ghosts.
I like that.
Now, this refers to wandering spirits of the dead. It is said that these ghosts have no living relatives or resting places, hence their need to roam the world of the living. During the 7th lunar month, or the Hungry Ghost Festival, ghosts are released from the underworld into the world of the living. So this is kind of similar to like what we believe around Halloween time.
That's similar to Dia de los Muertos.
Yes, the Day of the Dead, which is what, November 1st, right?
Yeah.
Now, such spirits include vengeful ghosts seeking retribution for their wrongful deaths. You got the hungry ghosts and playful spirits that could cause trouble during that period. These are all ghosts that are released during this time.
That we've already talked about.
Yes. Now, some could lose their way and are unable to return to the underworld in time, so they continue to roam the world of the living even after the 7th lunar month. The Gu Han Yi Gui, which means lonely souls and wild ghosts, also describes these ghosts and refers to the homeless or those that wander around aimlessly.
So those that are already wandering aimlessly and then die, and then they just continue to wander
basically
aimlessly.
like these ghosts are where they're supposed to be, but they come out during the lunar month, during these festivals, like they can, because, you know, like we believe here, the veil's thinnest around Halloween time, Day of the Dead, and they don't get back to where they're supposed to be before the clock strikes midnight. The strike clock's midnight. Clock strikes midnight, yeah. And then they get stuck here, and then they just have to wander. And I'm wondering if, because it doesn't really say, but I'm wondering if, like, the next year when it comes around, if they can actually go back, or if they're
Probably
just stuck forever.
No, they have to be able to get back. They just got to make sure they're wandering around in the right places.
Yeah.
So this next one is called the headless ghost.
You're so good at pronouncing this.
I haven't. I'm on a roll.
You're on. Yes, you are.
So the headless ghost sometimes approaches people in hopes of finding its head. They are headless ghosts who roam the living realm aimlessly, and they are spirits of people who were killed through decapitation due to various causes, like execution, car accidents, what have you. And in some tales, the headless ghost approaches people at night and asks them where its head is. And the headless spirit is also sometimes depicted as carrying its head at its side.
Ah, yes. Like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yep.
Now, we also have the hanged ghost.
You did good on that one.
I did. I'm getting better at these. Now, fairly common in Chinese folklore, these are the spirits of people who committed suicide and or are victims.
So that's why they're hanged, because they just...
I don't think hanging. Well, I guess, yeah. I don't think you can commit suicide and be a victim of execution.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. I read that wrong. I read that wrong. So they either committed suicide by hanging or they were executed by hanging.
Yeah.
They are said to haunt the location where they died. According to legend, they appear as corpses with long red tongues hanging out of their mouths and will try to convince passerbys to join them in the afterlife.
Huh. All right. Now this is...
Yeah, good luck.
This one doesn't really have an easy way to say it. Guho now.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Sure.
So what I just said is a woman who died during childbirth, subsequently becoming a creature with shape-shifting abilities, alternating between bird and woman. And due to grief from her grim pregnancy, this bird woman creature craves for infants, especially males. They're known for stealing male infants to make up for their emotional loss, and it's said that those with newborn sons should not leave the baby close to dry outside at night. Otherwise, this bird woman could find them and mark them with drops of her blood. I bet it's just poo. I bet it's poo.
Oh, that's not where blood comes from.
And if a baby wears these clothes, he will die, and his spirit will go to the bird woman nation.
She kidnaps babies by cutting her finger open and dropping blood on her clothes.
I bet it's poo.
It's not. It's deep, heavy sigh. It's not poo. Cook poo. So they also have ghosts of deceased animals, apparently. So human beings, not the only creature with souls that can return from beyond the grave. We've learned this from the movie Pet Sematary.
Yep.
Now, it is believed that dogs, cats, and other animals' souls can come back to seek retribution as well. Now, one famous story, a man named Coffin Head Lee
Perfect
was
for a scary story.
Yes. He was a bully who loved to kill cats and dogs. That's how we get serial killers. I've learned that from movies. One day, two men approached Coffin Head Lee and identified themselves as Hell Guards. They informed him that a case had been made against him in the afterlife by the souls of 460 cats and dogs.
Yeah, this guy had a problem for sure.
A little bit. Coffin Head Lee was subsequently found guilty and taken away to face judgment in the unseen world. Imagine that. First off, don't kill cats and dogs.
Yeah.
I've seen the Netflix documentary about don't fuck with cats. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
What that guy did was messed up, and it's similar.
Cat lives matter.
Cat lives matter. These people tracked him down the internet and found him for the cops.
Good.
It was crazy ass documentary.
I did see that. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did see the whole premise of what it was about.
That's crazy. So there you go. There's justice for animals in the afterlife if you're killing them. So you hunters, yes, I guess that's okay. Cat and dogs, not so much.
Yes.
What else we got?
Well, let's see. We got the Chinese ghost myths of today. So without a doubt, Chinese ghost culture is not as strong as it used to be, as many Western elements have been infused into it. And despite a decrease in rituals and rites for appeasing Chinese ghosts, several notable myths are still widely circulated, not just in China, but also in Chinese communities all over the world. And the common myths are, here's the first one: when a pregnant woman tries to kill herself but survives, she will be able to see ghosts. It is believed that spirits wait close to pregnant women to enter the body of newborn infants. Having attempted suicide, she would be gifted with the power of extra sight and would most likely be haunted by the spirit who was to be her child.
Now, next up, one of the next myth is that dogs are known to be very sensitive to ghosts. It is believed that placing dog tears or cemetery mud onto one's eyes will grant the ability to see ghosts.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, it don't make.
I
mean, here's the thing.
Dog tears.
Dog tears.
Bacteria.
We're gonna make Manny cry.
It's not hard. That's not hard.
No, it's not. He does it quite a bit. Manny's Ghosty's dog, by the way. We believe that here in Western cultures too. Like not the putting cemetery mud or dog tears in your eyes, but we do believe that spirits are like closerly. I'm making up words today. More closely connected to the spirit world than we are, so they're able to actually see spirits. So that's something that like their Chinese culture and our culture believe in.
Or did we take that from them?
Maybe we did. I don't know.
Opening an umbrella indoors is an open invitation for ghosts to drop by and take residence. This act is most unwelcome by many Chinese families.
We just think it's bad luck here, but you're getting
also
possessed.
We probably learned that from
probably
them.
You're getting possessed if you open an umbrella indoors. Mm-hmm. What do we got next? The wearing a hat that covers both eyebrows will cause one to find a haunted place.
Covers both eyebrows. Weird.
Yeah, so that's how I find all the haunted places, because I always wear my beanie over both eyebrows. Is that considered a hat?
Makes sense.
That's why I'm into ghost hunting. It's because I put my beanie
You knew it
all along. So now you know my secrets.
Mirrors can reflect both human and ghosts, and ghosts usually do not tolerate vanity. So combing one's hair in front of a mirror at midnight is believed to give one the ability to see the unseen.
If only I had hair to comb at midnight.
Your beard. Comb your beard.
Oh, yes, that is hair.
Yes.
Let's try it. What are you doing at midnight tonight?
Combing your beard.
Combing my beard. Yeah, well, that will make me see ghosts. How will you see ghosts?
You tell me what you see, bud.
Okay, cool.
I'm just combing your beard.
Okay, so the next one up we have is going to a graveyard at dusk and looking through one's legs is said to be a sign of a disrespect. By doing this, one will be able to see the dead.
See the dead kick you right in the nuts.
Which nuts?
These nuts. The burning of joss sticks at graveyards is a sign of respect. To see ghosts, one can take a lit joss stick from a grave, throw it on the ground, and then rub the ashes on oneself. This is the ultimate sign of disrespect, which will anger the dead, and they will definitely appear to the person who is guilty of such disrespect and kick them in the balls.
Yes. Okay, so also we have the use of a Ouija board. This is used to summon spirits and communicate with the dead. That's not just a Chinese culture thing. The Ouija board was actually created in the Americas.
Yeah.
The spirit boards, not so much. The actual phrase Ouija board is some American businessman. We covered this in our spirit boards episode. But spirit boards and talking boards in general, I think is what they're going for here.
Yeah, I think so. Probably, most likely.
What do we have? The last
myth is a cornea transplant from a dead person is said to grant one of the ability to see ghosts with his new cornea from the dead.
Or her new corneas.
His or her new cornea from the dead.
You've seen the Jessica Alba movie, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. If there was a way to find out.
It's called Watch Me or something. See or something like that. Either way, she sees ghosts because she got a transplant with a dead person's eyeballs.
Yes, she did.
And somehow that makes you see ghosts. Because science and all.
Well, I think somehow it makes you see ghosts. But I think in the movie, the person that...
was it psychic already?
I think so. I mean, it's been such a long time since.
See, that would make more sense. Thanks, Hollywood, for fixing that hole.
That was Alba, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So. No, I know I have to look it up. Keep talking.
Okay. So, anyways, ghost man, Chinese ghost. What do you think about their depictions of spirits? I think having headless spirits kind of mixed. I think that's they could be kind of grouped together into some things.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of the stuff that's very
the hanged one and the headless one.
Well, and you look at tarot cards, for example, and some of this stuff is on tarot cards. But yeah, I don't know. There's similarities, but depending on your religion here, not everything is evil. In American culture, but I think
they're just scared of ghosts, so they just automatically say, you know what, they're bad, man. They're just gonna be screwing you up and causing all kinds of trouble. Just don't give them any attention. And it's called the eye.
The eye, yes.
The eye.
Okay, yeah. So check that out. That kind of gives you an idea of that one myth where you get a cornea transplant and you can see ghosts. But yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's a little bit about the Chinese ghosts.
So yeah,
where they come from, what they are, what they do.
Yeah, we can do this on all kinds of ghosts around the world if we want.
Yeah, and we probably will.
All right.
So you want to have you check out our social medias at evp.pod at Instagram and Facebook. If you have visited the Forbidden City, because that was our last episode, or if you have seen some of these ghosts.
Or have stories of some of these ghosts.
We have stories
or seen
of
the
these
headless
ghosts, yes.
or hang ghosts.
Hit us up, evp.pod@gmail.com. And after you've done all that fun stuff, check out our affiliate link to ghoststop.com, buy some ghost hunting gear, and go do the ghost hunting. It's that time of year. You should already be doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's getting close to Halloween, guys. Stay spooky. Ghosts don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
This is the EVP Podcast.